CNN saw substantial viewer losses this month, shedding 43% in total primetime viewers, 54% from the primetime demographic, 34% in total day viewers, and 43% in total day adults ages 25 to 54. That's compared to March.
While CNN is still finishing April in basic cable's top 10, the network ranks number 13 in April among total viewers and number 15 in the primetime demographic. That's according to TV Newser. And I suspect that partly reflects probably the declining this is awful, but the declining newsworthiness of the Ukraine war, right? That it's been going on long enough that probably people aren't quite as glued. And COVID, that's been a long-term thing.
And Andrew Cuomo not being there anymore. Wasn't he their top guy?
Right, people not having to be glued to their televisions about any specific news event, that right now, or less glued than they were before, is what I suspect that reflects.
Right. Yeah, well, and also, but it's kind of interesting because people are still tuning into Fox, and then again, there's a Democrat, and Democrats are in control, so Fox is still on fire, right? They're like, oh no, the world is ending because Democrats are in control. So there's always this world is ending sort of. That's what keeps people viewing the news. The world is ending, or big change like elections, of course. But yeah, I think CNN losing a lot of the interest in COVID. A lot of people are just moving on. And they've tried to continue dragging it out. We see this even with the administration, because that's like the one thing I think they feel like they have some kind of control of. If they could say, well, we've got new drugs for you. We've got new vaccines for you. We've got mandates for you, right? It's like the one thing that they feel like they have control over, because they can't control Russia. They can't control inflation. Right. They can't control crime on the streets, all these other things. And so they're prolonging the one thing they maybe have some kind of semblance of appearance of control. But people are over it. People are moving on. People are out living their lives. And they don't want to be watching doom and gloom on CNN. And yeah, Ukraine, people cared for a minute. But the reality is most people don't even know where Ukraine is. They don't know a single Ukrainian. I have Ukrainian family members from Ukraine who immigrated over here, married into the family. But most people don't know a single Ukrainian, right? Or Russian for that matter. And they just are, but these are substantial losses for CNN in 1 month. I mean, this is huge. 54% in total adults, 34% in total day viewers, right. 43% decline. That is a massive number of people. I mean, a third to half hightailing it away from the network. Do you think, the big question I think is, do you think CNN is going to change? Do you think they're going to look at this and say, we need to make some changes? And do you think those changes are going to be to go more extreme and to manufacture more doom and gloom? Or do you think they're going to say, maybe we need to stop spewing so much establishment propaganda? Which way do you think they're going to go?
It'd be one thing, too, if they were losing numbers because all of their normal viewers were just watching on CNN Plus instead. But we know that's not the case. They've actually lost them. They're going elsewhere, or they're just turning off their TVs.
They're going to Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson has more Democratic young viewers than CNN does.
So, right. They're watching not because they agree with Tucker. They want to. But it doesn't matter, right? They're watching because they want to know what an important oppositional commentator is saying, so it's not good. Yeah, CNN obviously has to change. So they're getting a new president. His name evades me at the moment, but he's going to have to chart a different course. I don't know how they can. If they double down on what they're doing now, they need Trump back. That's the bottom line. And then maybe they'll get him back. They absolutely need Trump back. If Trump runs again, it will be God's gift to CNN, to cable news in general, because he is great for ratings. He makes people tune in. They want to know what he's saying. That will single-handedly, it won't entirely save the network, but that will boost their ratings substantially for a period of time. So that's the strategy. Which is so funny because they're also against Trump ideologically. They don't want to be a president, but they need him. They absolutely need him. The way like the Joker needs the Batman.
I think that they're just, because that would be once again a crisis, a doom and gloom storyline of, oh no, the white supremacist, racist, misogynist, sexist, Russian Putin puppet is back. And so, this is the worst thing to happen to American democracy. And so they would, it just goes back to that. They just need doom and gloom. So that's the problem. And the people I know, even in my own personal life, if they watch CNN, they are miserable people. It's really, and that is unfortunate. I don't know how.
You don't think
else
that just describes people who watch exclusively cable news in general?
No, I think CNN, MSNBC and CNN, Fox, right now I feel like the people that watch Fox, it depends on when they're watching. So if they watch kind of during the day, they're just kind of getting their basic news. But if they watch at night, the personalities are so different. They're not really in line ideologically. I mean, Tucker to Sean Hannity is pretty different. And so, on a lot of things. And so I don't really get the sense from Fox viewers as much that the world is like everything is horrible. I mean, they're definitely griping. I think that's common amongst cable viewers is griping. Oh, this Biden administration and these bad things going on here. But the actual misery, depression, feeling like the world is ending, not wanting to have children because you don't want to bring them into this terrible, awful world, not wanting to celebrate the 4th of July because, oh my gosh, it's celebrating the treacherous history of this horrible country founded on the worst principles, right? That's like CNN and MSNBC viewers. They don't even want to celebrate holidays. I mean, they're just miserable. So these networks, I think, need to realize that you can only milk misery for so long. People don't actually fundamentally want to be miserable. People want to be happy. It's kind of the human condition. So if they continue to feed misery to their audience, eventually their audience says, I don't want to be miserable anymore. I'm turning you off. Maybe they don't go somewhere else, but they just go away from you.
I remember a study of U.S. COVID news from a year ago. Maybe it wasn't that long ago, because I think I talked about it on the show at some point with someone. But it showed that in U.S. media markets, the coverage of the pandemic was more negative than in our peer news coverage in Europe and other places. It was relentlessly negative, and it was it was not just ideological, it was cross-partisan media, relentless negativity, even at times where positivity was merited, given some good news in the pandemic, cases going down, vaccines or something. It was relentlessly negative, and what the study found was they're doing that because that is actually what the people watching wanted. They wanted to wallow in that misery. I think I don't understand, but I think there's a desire. If positivity was going to succeed, the news media outlets would pivot in that direction. But it's always been the case. It's going back to newspapers, local TV. If it bleeds, it leads. Stories of kidnappings and murders and scary stuff.
But people still want the
works.
happy ending.
Yeah.
They still want the happy ending. They want that follow-up to that kidnapping case that you found the kid, right? People want to have the ending to this COVID pandemic that we ended it. Well, but they still want to hear a different story than of a different kid that's been found. I mean, at some time. I mean, it's got to be a balance between the misery and the bleeds it leads and some happiness. I agree that happiness, there's no happiness network out there, and there's a reason for it. People don't tune in. But people can only take so much misery. You do have to feed them at least some dessert once in a while to sweeten the deal a bit. And they're just not doing that. They're feeding doom and gloom. Even now, with virus cases, down as low as they are, hospitalizations and death are way, way, way down. Yet they're still talking about, but we have to go back to these mask mandates because the virus is spiking. It's gone up by 43% from last week in this one spot. Oh, yeah, by the way, last week it was only 2 cases, but it's still 43% above 2 cases from last week. So we have to all panic.
That's the positive message of this news broadcast for the day. Go out, live your life. If you're vaccinated or if you have it, you have lots of protection from future disease, which is more likely to be mild anyway. Cases are down, hospitalizations down, deaths are down. It's good. You can go out, be happy. That's our affirmative message to our viewers for the show today, I think.
Well, maybe CNN will start cluing in on that too, and maybe they'll decide.
Do you remember the case count? They would have the numbers. I think it was cases.
Yes, the death counter. Yeah, they had the death counter right there on the side.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean that was miserable. I mean, Fox was definitely. They also did the death counter. But absolutely. Look, I never really watched Fox prior. I mean, I always would dabble in all the networks, but prior to the pandemic, I did primarily watch as my most go-to news station was actually MSNBC, followed by CNN. During the pandemic, though, Fox was the only one that at least had some kind of happiness. I mean, at least like Fox's The Five would end with like dog and cat stories, for the day. CNN, it would just blast in your face this death counter and how the Trump administration was killing people. Everybody was killing people. Trumpers were, and it was just doom and gloom all the time. And I do think people at some point hit a breaking point and they just say, I've got to turn this off. I cannot handle it anymore. It's just too much that I've just got to separate myself because it's just ruining my life. So, you got to give them a little dessert, a little sunshine every so often. And I don't think CNN has any intention of doing that. It's treacherous. Don't let Trump win.
All right, well, tomorrow on Rising, our panel will join us to tackle the big news of the day, and a union tradesman discusses why the working class has no political party to represent their interests when it comes to nuclear energy.
Yeah, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're available anywhere you listen to podcasts. All right, we will see you guys tomorrow. I don't know if I'm here the whole show tomorrow. I don't know so.
Either.
I think I'm just back to my regular schedule, but I think I'm going to sleep
I'll be here, and we have no idea who else is hosting, but tune in tomorrow and you'll find out.
But I don't know.
Don't make any promises. I don't think we know for sure.
That's true. You're right. Okay. No promises made. We will be here in general tomorrow for you, so be sure to tune in. All right. We will see you guys then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.